What's up, everybody? It's Chris here to give my afterthoughts on UFC 92, the Ultimate 2008. So I'm not really going to get too much into the undercards. There wasn't really any significant fights or anything of any real consequence in the future. You know, I did pretty good on my predictions. I ended up going, I believe, let me think. I think I was only wrong on two fights. The Nogueira-Mir fight, which, you know, I'm sure I can be forgiven for. I don't know too many people that picked Mir, to be honest. And the Chonan-Brad Blackburn fight, which I did say I thought could go either way. Anyhow, I'm just going to talk about the main three fights. Rampage Jackson getting revenge, knocking out Vanderlei Silva out cold and giving him a little bit of, after the bell or after the fight was already over, a couple of shots. You know, I don't really know how I feel about that, to be honest. I'm a Rampage fan. You know, I'm not going to lie, but I think if anyone else had done that, if it would have been the tables had been turned and Vanderlei had hit Rampage after the fight had been stopped and the ref had been trying to separate them, I probably would have been very critical of Silva. So it'd be hypocritical of me to not be somewhat, you know, think that was kind of a kind of a punk move to do by Rampage, but you know, heat of the battle. You do some strange things, you know, sometimes. So emotions get the best of you, and apparently they did of Rampage at the time. But you know, Vanderlei seemed to be okay. So, anyways, yeah. So I picked Rampage to win. I thought he would win by TKO. I didn't think he'd win that devastatingly, to be honest, though. But you know, he fought a good game plan. Kept on the outside. Didn't go in recklessly. You know, they both kind of fought a little tentatively in the first round, especially more so Rampage. Gotten a few flurries. You know, same thing happened in the first two fights. Just this time, Rampage happened to be on the winning end. He happened to land the big punch and turned Vanderlei's lights out in an exchange with the left hand. Left hook and, like I said, a couple punches while he was on the ground. So, very convincing win for Rampage. From here on, he'll probably either get the title shot next. If it depends, either he or Lyoto Machida, depending on if he beats Thiago Silva next month, will get the title shot next. If Rampage doesn't get the title shot next, I'm not really for sure who will fight next. But either way, he looked great tonight. Obviously, the change in trainers and the legal turmoil he'd been going through recently didn't affect him in any way because he looked sharp, focused, and like the old Rampage. So, anyways. Moving on, Frank Mir, Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. Who knew, right? Who saw this coming? Aside from not even Frank Mir. Even in his post-fight interview, he even said he thought he wouldn't have bet on himself to win. And that he entered that fight more scared than he did any other time in his career. Anyhow, props to Frank Mir. I didn't pick him to win. I don't really know too many, if any, people that did. Had a good game plan, kept it standing, was very effective with his punches. To be honest, what Frank Mir said in the UFC Countdown proved to be true. He said that Nogueira has had a lot of great victories, but what does the damage he had incurred in all those fights, when does it start to take its toll, more or less? You know, all those wars. And it's apparent that all those fights, all those great battles, wars, whatever you want to call them, that Nogueira's been in, they have taken their toll. You know, he looked spent. He couldn't take a punch at all. He was knocked down by Mir 3 times, and Mir's never been known as a great striker or with a lot of punching power. And if you go back and watch the fight, none of the punches that Nogueira were knocked down by were really, really, really solid shots, especially the second knockdown in the first round. It wasn't really a hard shot at all. He just kind of caught Nogueira going back. Also, Nogueira looked he was the heaviest I'd ever seen him. He didn't look in shape. When he did throw his punches, he didn't throw a lot of punches. He just didn't have any snap to them at all. Honestly, it's sad to say, but I really think Nogueira is a spent fighter at this point. And I think, you know, like I said, all those wars he's been in, the accumulation of punches have pretty much worn down his body. Regardless of age, if you've been through a lot of tough fights, it's going to take its toll on you, whether it's MMA or boxing. We haven't seen a lot of it in MMA yet. because it hasn't been around as long. But we've seen similar things in boxing. If anyone is familiar with boxing, favorite fighter of mine, Fernando Vargas, is a guy that retired at age 29 just because he had incurred so much damage in fights that he no longer could compete at his top ability, and he just couldn't take a punch as well as he could in his younger days. So that appears to be the case with Nogueira, unfortunately. So I don't know. Anyways, we got Mir against Lesnar next for the undisputed heavyweight title. Should be a good fight. Should be really anticipating that fight now because Mir's got the victory over him, but Lesnar obviously will probably have improved since then. As far as his submission defense, and they both have their advantages. So that's a rematch I'm really looking forward to. As for Nogueira, I don't think he'll retire. I'm not one to say whether he should or not. That's his decision to make, but I just don't see him ever notching any more significant victories at this point. Not based off what I saw last night, unfortunately. Last up, Forrest Griffin versus Rashad Evans. Rashad Evans takes the title from Forrest. I picked Rashad. I picked him by decision. I thought it'd be a close fight. To be honest, after the first 2 rounds, I was really looking pretty bad on my prediction. Forrest was controlling the fight standing, using his height and his reach to a great advantage. Was effective with the striking, with the jab, with the right hand. Caught Rashad with the right in the second round. That caught Rashad right on the eye, and you could tell Rashad was bothered by it. He was having problems, I think, seeing out of that eye. He also caught him with the Superman punch at the end of the second round. Was also using his kicks effectively on the outside. Forrest looked really good in the first 2 rounds. He was definitely controlling the fight. I could see Rashad trying to counter a couple times, the same way he did against Chuck Liddell with that overhand right, but he just couldn't get close enough. He just couldn't get the proper distance. Didn't really shoot for any takedowns or anything. So Forrest was controlling, but come the 3rd round, Rashad caught a leg kick of Forrest, took him down. Landed a few good solid punches as soon as he got him down to Forrest. It actually looked like he was going to stop him there. Yeah, he landed some hammer fists, some other rights. But props to Forrest. Was able to regain his composure, got Rashad in his guard. But not much longer before Rashad was able to finish him off. Forrest went for a couple of little submission attempts. Rashad was able to defend them successfully. Ended up getting not standing up all the way in his posture in the guard, but postured up. Landed a huge overhand right that stunned Forrest. Rashad could see Forrest was stunned. Finished him off with punches. Just really landed a lot of rights in a row for the most part. And pretty much technically not TKO'd Forrest, Forrest was done. There's no arguing the stoppage on that fight. Props to Rashad, props to Forrest. He put up a good fight, He just got caught. It happens. It's not the first time it's happened with them, It's kind of, it's very interesting to note that Forrest has been stopped twice in the UFC, TKO'd twice by both guys coming out of Greg Jackson's camp. So, I don't know if that bodes well for a rematch. Also, I'm thinking a rematch, if they do have one ever, Rashad might be looking to take Forrest down sooner because he was so effective inside Forrest's guard. As for what's next for Rashad, like I said, probably the Rampage or the winner of Machida Silva. Hard for me to really call those fights right now. Both really close fights, especially without having seen Machida Silva yet. If it does, if the winner does get him, or if Machida does win and gets Rashad next. But it'll be interesting to see, But props to Rashad and Forrest. They're both good examples of the legitimacy, I guess, of the Ultimate Fighter show. The first 2 champions on that show, and they come away with the titles, and one over the other, as a matter of fact. So, anyways, it was a great night of fights, really great event. We got to see every fight except for 2, and it sounds like the 2 that we missed out on weren't anything special. So, props to the UFC for ending the year on a bang. Big month in January of MMA fights. Really looking forward to it. But like I said, a great way to end the year, great event. Ultimate 2008, definitely well worth the money. And shouts out to Blue 183, I believe, a subscriber of mine. We were going back and forth on Rashad Forrest, Rashad pulled it out, but Forrest did look good, so, I don't know. Maybe next time you'll get one over on me. I mean, you already have before in the past, so I'm sure we'll verbally spar on our next disagreement. I'm looking forward to it. But till then, guys, I'm out of here. Bye.